here we want to give the domain and range as intervals, and intervals should always be given from least to greatest. And so the domain, since it's the set of all of the x values, we're looking along the x-axis, and to move from least to greatest would mean on the x-axis to go from left to right. And so we want to move along the graph from left to right. So we start by basically looking for a furthest point to the left, and we see that we don't have any portion of the graph over here to the left of -2. So my domain would start at -2, and then it would continue on, and I have a portion of the graph there as I continue to move right until I hit x equals 1 there, and then after that I don't have any more part of the graph. And so the domain only goes from -2 to 1. All of the x coordinates of every single point on this graph, all of the x coordinates would be numbers between -2 and 1. Now we do need to be a little bit careful with our notation because of that open circle there on the left. The number -2 itself is not part of the domain, since there is no point on this graph that has an x coordinate of -2. So that open circle, that point, is not part of the graph. So to indicate that in an interval, we use parentheses. That says that the number -2 itself is not included. But going up to the 1, we do have a point with an x coordinate of 1 because that dot is filled in. And so that means we put a bracket there on the 1, and that says that the number 1 is part of the domain. And now the range is also going to be an interval. Intervals again always go from least to greatest, so since the range is all the y values, least to greatest on the y-axis would be from the bottom to the top. So we want to look at our graph from the lowest point to the highest point. So start on the bottom and go up. Our lowest point here has a y coordinate of -1, and then we go up to the highest point, going up there to the 2, again with that open circle, so the 2 itself is not included. So we want to start our range at -1 with a bracket and go up to the 2 and use parentheses. So we have to go up to the 2 and use parentheses to show that there are points in there with, say, a y coordinate of 1.99, and so we want to make sure and include that. We can't stop anywhere short of 2 or we'd be leaving some things out. So we go to 2 and use parentheses, and that just indicates that it's not included.